think we should start with, how did you get into creating videos?
Yeah, so I think growing up, I wasn't really into technology at all. I was just sort of, I really liked hockey, and I found that I was never really that good at school stuff either. I had troubles like focusing, and so I sort of just found what I liked at the time and just put everything into it. And so it was probably around grade 7 or grade 8, I was looking at the new iPod Touch. At the time, it was a pretty revolutionary device. It had a touch screen and app store, and so I was trying to figure out if I wanted to get one, and spent like a whole year watching videos about it, saving up for it. And after you watch like so many videos, you sort of were like, okay, when I get this iPod eventually, I'm gonna start making some videos myself to try to pay it off. And so I realized people were getting a lot of free stuff, and I thought it'd be a good idea to try to get these like free iPhone cases, iPod cases, make a quick video of it, and then sell it. I thought that was like a really quick way to make some extra money. But turns out it was like pretty much 5 years of not making any money, but spending all my free time on it. And that's kind of when I realized I liked making videos, and kind of fully committed to it.
So most of the skills you learned, did you learn from just trial and error and creating? And I guess the people you watched as well?
Yeah, I would say like all the skills came from trial and error. The biggest mistake I made was probably when I was in high school. There was a lot of like YouTube networks, and they would say that they would help to grow your channel, your brand, and that they'd give you like, a platform to be able to level your career. But essentially I signed off like 40% of my earnings at the age of 13 for 4 or 5 years. And at the time, it didn't seem very significant because I wasn't making much money off the platform at all. It was like a couple dollars a month. But eventually a few videos like hit like 1, 2, or 3 million views, and that's when like the AdSense is like 5 digits. And I didn't realize until like even 3, 4 years after that 40% of it was just being signed off blindly. Yeah, I'd say like those are kind of the early mistakes of trial and error. But I think through YouTube, and especially with a new industry, you learn a lot of things just from like reaching out to brands. Like every Sunday, I would just go buy a magazine at Bowen Books or whatever, and take a look at what companies had done advertising inside those magazines, and then have a list of 100 emails to just send out, ask for product. And you'd probably get 1 to 2 responses back at the time, but it was still enough like product to keep the review flow going. And then wherever I could, I would borrow smartphones that like other students had, or whatever was around the house, like whatever you could find to review. At that point, when the channel's a little bit smaller, you just want to be creating stuff. I think a lot of times people get caught up on trying to perfect the process, need the nicest equipment, spend a lot of money to just get started. But I think what was good about back then was that it was such a new platform that just by the act of doing it, it was kind of a sign of I guess, whether it was gonna work or not.
So after your high school journey, you said you went to university, and you're still creating videos at the time, I'm sure. How did those two worlds kind of collide?
Yeah, I would say like through high school, it was constantly like a battle of making sure I got what I needed to done, committing to the 5-day schedule, and also trying to upload on weekends, and trying to make sure I stay up to date with current events like new smartphone launches, Apple events, and all that kind of stuff. When I got to university, it was kind of the same deal, where you try to keep up with the schedule, you show up to class. But I think in a lot of ways, doing YouTube in university, it taught me time management more than anything. It was like whenever I was in class, instead of listening to the lecture, I'd bring my computer, and that would be like 4 or 5 hours a day where I had nothing else to do except for come up with a script for the next video, find the next brand to work with, reply to all the emails, or just work on videos that are already being worked on. Whereas if I was at home and given that free range of time, say I didn't go to university after high school, I probably would have wasted that time and just like watched TV or played video games and filmed a video here and there. But I think that like 3 years that I did go to university definitely taught time management. And even in high school, it was always just trying to step around a few different worlds. Even though I didn't really like that situation, it was, I think, the best test for whether or not I actually enjoyed doing it and I was willing to commit to it, because it was taking up all the free time. So in university, eventually when I got closer to dropping out, it was 4 days a week at school, and then Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays would be spent making the video. And so even then, uploading 100 videos a year from just the 3 days a week of work, eventually when it was starting to earn a significant amount of money, that was where I was sort of like, there has to be a decision made here. And as soon as I left university, we ended up going on like over 100 flights that year to kind of visit all the brands that we'd been talking to for all these years, but were unavailable to network or meet with.
Could you talk a bit about that decision to ultimately drop out, and what you were balancing, maybe how your family was reacting as well?
Yeah, I think I mean, I wanted to drop out from the first day I went to university. Like, I really didn't want to go. I didn't like it. And as soon as I got there, I was like, I feel like this is a bit of a trap. In terms of time, wasn't really benefiting much from it. And for the most part, I was completely elsewhere. After like high school, I just really didn't want to go straight into university. But I mean, just continue to work on the business, and luckily, like, it would continue to double and multiply, and it just kept heading the right direction where it really just made sense to give it a chance full time, because you never know if that opportunity is still going to be there. And university looked like an opportunity where if I wanted to, I could go back. I mean, I think now I'm like actually out of the program. Like, it took about, I left in 2018, so yeah, I was kind of still in the program for 4 years, but I think I had no plans to go back. And I think at the time I wasn't really wanting to stay either. It was just constantly trying to build the business to a point where it made sense to justify like leaving. And yeah, my parents were relatively supportive about the decision. And obviously there was a list of things that I had to propose that I was going to do. So the first thing was incorporate into a company. I was going to travel the world and network, and then also hire full-time staff. And I think since then it has gone relatively smoothly.
So I know from your YouTube channel, you've branched out into some other businesses. Do you want to talk about a bit what's come from the YouTube channel and where your other businesses are?
Yeah, for sure. I think with the YouTube channel, first of all, it's very important to diversify into different platforms. To have like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, but then focus on 1 to 2 to really narrow in on, because content like styles are always changing and strategies are changing from the brands as well. But beyond that, I think it's important to have additional businesses. And I was always like all eggs in one basket when it came to YouTube. And I feel like it was a good play. You do want to have a very strong flagship, because you don't exactly want to have your revenue coming from 10 different places and be evenly distributed. We used to sort of be like that when we first started, just because like you wanted to be able to bring in money from whichever area you could. But I think as the business has grown, we've essentially focused 95% on one area of the business, which is the social media, the YouTube and the Instagram. But in 2018, I think, or 2019, I purchased half of the stake of a local clothing company that was just online, and we ended up opening a retail store in downtown Victoria at around, I think it might have been 2019 or 2020. Yeah, it was around 2020. And I think it was a big learning experience where it was a relatively low risk investment, but I think the biggest thing I've learned is that the clothing industry is completely different. It's really hard to generate revenue from and or profit from. And so I think, yeah, it's been a bit of a learning experience for sure on that aspect, especially coming from marketing and YouTube, where the margins are essentially almost 100% if they want it to be. In addition to that, we also, as a media company, have purchased quite a few properties and kind of did the whole makeover series on YouTube and renovated the places and let the viewers kind of pick what they want to design the place as and build a series off of that, have sponsors, and also have like companies provide products. In addition to that, after those properties are done, they end up going on Airbnb. So we have like a luxury rental property division, and that's kind of, I guess, my passion at the moment, even though I am in the tech industry and I was really interested in tech for a long time. It ended up being, I ended up just like starting to fall into real estate a little bit more through my own properties and through the investment properties. So I think like in the long run, in terms of building more passive income streams, I hope to continue to grow the real estate portfolio and have more properties on Airbnb from there, hopefully around the world. The other one is the online course. So we figured like online course is one that has a lot of similarities in terms of margins to YouTube, where you create a course, you spend like 1 week on it, about 8 to 10 hours of content, and essentially comes down to like the marketing of that. So we did a YouTube course with like kind of information on how to create a business on YouTube and do it as a full-time thing. And so yeah, that launched a few months ago, and we're always kind of looking for new sectors, but I think the retail space and the clothing space is something that I'm going to try to stay away from. But we do hope to either continue investing in like real estate in the future or to potentially buy into more companies. It just kind of depends. It's always a very difficult process just because like there's more people involved, and I'm very used to a business where I have like full control over it.
So you don't have to go into too much detail about this if you don't want to, but I know a lot of people watching this here are very business oriented. So if you want to talk about a bit about your sources of income and kind of what are the main ones and the kind of less important ones?
Yeah, so sponsorships are definitely I'll start when I first started. AdSense is not going to pay you anything. Like 1,000 views will make you like $1 or $2, and so I mean I was literally making $1 or $2 I think for the first few years. But the strategy that I had was if I get free products, $20 times 10. that kind of worked. I also sold a lot of stuff around school to all the different grades, and so so I imported a bunch of stuff and whatever I could find for free, just sold it in class and used that to just reinvest into the business. Like every single penny was reinvested into the business for the first 5 or 6 years in time. But yeah, in the beginning it was just selling stuff, and that can make a couple thousand here and there. And then by high school that ended up progressing a little bit, and then right after high school I think is when we first started getting our first sponsorships. But that also ties to the biggest mistake I've ever made with the channel, which was the first time I got paid to make videos, and I had never been paid before, and so I took every single opportunity there was, and the channel didn't grow for a whole year. But at the time, it felt like really good money. And the problem with doing that is that you ended up pausing the potential future growth of the channel if you get stuck in that loop of only doing sponsored videos at a relatively preliminary stage. Yeah, that was the income stream for a little bit, where sponsorships completely took over free products. But at some point, free products alone being sold on eBay or local, East Victoria or Facebook Marketplace was a 6-figure business, not including any of the sponsorships or the AdSense. Nowadays, even though AdSense is a lot better and free products are still a big chunk of the business, it isn't really the priority anymore, just because a product, even if it's worth a few $1,000s, will not replace the amount that a sponsor is willing to pay for a video. And so sponsorships account for 95% of our business at the moment. And then there's also the AdSense. And then there's also the product sales that still exist. And then there's the online course, which is on the side. And I mean, the clothing company, everything goes back into that. It's just not a business where you're able to reinvest much unless it's scaled, or take much out as a profit. The rental property business has also been a really good sector where literally as you continue to buy properties, the passive income stream just continues to grow, and same with the asset portfolio. So I think that's been a space that I'm very interested in, but building more passive streams is definitely the priority, because passive income will always complement active income. So if your AdSense increases, that means your viewership has also increased, and then that means you could charge more for your sponsors. So it all kind of ties in together, and I think what's so cool about the social media business is that everything leverages into each other. The real estate business is tied with YouTube. The more properties we redo, the more views we're going to get in the home series, and the larger the sponsors, and the larger the following. But on top of that, the clothing company, you could wear your own brand in some of the videos, for example, and sell clothing off of that. And then say with the home series, we decide to launch candles or home products and that type of stuff. You can put that in your video and sell that as a free ad slot in addition to a paid sponsor within that episode.
Right. Well, thank you very much. I think we're just at time. So thank you once again for coming.
No, thanks for having me.
Daniel has a gift for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for having me.